Oh, what did I say? Sorry, -3. Make sure your name's at the top. Please hand those up and over. It's on my desk. Select it, so just make sure you push it in all the way. Now, have your notes out, and I believe it's at page 11 that we left off on. Head over, is it page 11 that we left off on? All right, at the top of page 11, this is something that you really need to make sure that you know. If the index is even, and the square root of it is just the principal or positive root, and what we're talking about is this. If I ask you for the square root of 16, that's only 4. Negative root 16 is the negation of the radical, so that would give me -4. However, if I have x squared equals 16, that's when x equals plus or minus 4. Because this is going to have two solutions. This is just simplifying out a radical. That's what that's telling you. That's what that's telling you. And I'll caution you with this. There's parts of today's stuff that are hard, but overall this actually is one of the easier topics that you'll do in all of Algebra 2. But again, you have to have a good algebra base, and it would be profoundly easy if you guys were used to working with quadratics, because that's what this builds on. So the fact that they didn't do those with you last year is going to leave you with a little bit lacking, but we'll get you through. Take a look now at our first equation. And there's really only one way to do this. There's a square root equation. You need to go through and remove the square root. That's what's blocking you from solving this. In order to have that happen, the first thing you need to do is isolate the square root. So what would be our first step, John Paul, if you're going to isolate the square root? Okay. So I'll subtract 2 from both sides. That leaves me with the square root of 2x plus 1 is equal to 3. Looking at what's there, Alex M., what would you do next to get rid of the square root?
Square both sides.
Okay. So now I'm going to square both sides. The square root of a radical leaves you with just the radicand of 2x plus 1. And what is it going to be equal to? Nick?
9.
9. Let's now go through and keep solving this out. Then what would you do from here? So we have 2x is going to be equal to 8. From here, Anna, what would you do? So you get x is equal to 4. Now, every single time you do out a solving with the square root, every time you do a solving with the square root, you have to go back and check your answer, because square roots introduce something that's called an extraneous solution. See how we squared this here? When you square something, you always increase the number of potential answers that you have. So if that's the case, there's now 2 candidates for an answer. We only got 1. Let's see if this works. What we're going to have you do is go over to your calculators and this. Now, this is something I don't know how familiar you all are with using the calculator. Let's go into a new document. Don't save what's there. The next thing that you're going to do is add calculator. Now, I want you to type in what the original equation was. I want you to go in your calculator, type in what the original equation was, which is the square root of like 2x plus 1 and plus or minus, and I can't remember what it was. Type in what that original equation, though, is. There's an equal sign, and then is it 5? Yeah. Now, once everybody is to that point, this is the next part that's probably new. You're going to press Control and then hit equals. So Control equals. That brings this up. You need to choose the bar. Now, after the bar, you're going to input the answer that you got, which was x equals, was it 4 we got or 3? 4, all right, so do x equals 4. Now press enter. Does that work? Now, here's a problem that you all had, and again, I'm discovering all of these little quirks that you all were shown and told last year. Who here was told that guess and check works? They said you can solve this by guess and check. Nice and high. All right. I'm going to be unequivocally clear with you. Guess and check is not math. Okay? It's like a parlor trick, like a card game. It is not math. On any work that we do in here, it earns you 0.0 credit. The only time that it's acceptable is on the read. That's it. And you only use that to confirm the answers that you got. Now, did they have you using it during the year, or did they? What? Yes. So what's going to happen soon is I'm going to have a stroke. I'm going to lay a fall on the ground right here. I just need one of you to call an ambulance. What? Yeah, it is. So I shouldn't get bruised too badly. And if I fall in an awkward position, someone just pose me so I still look good. Now, some of you are going to go through and on a multiple choice question, which is how the Regents would ask this, they'll say, can I just plug the answers in? If it is June whatever, and 21st, and we're sitting and taking the exam, absolutely. If you're taking a unit exam in here, never. Use it to confirm. It's not, if there's not algebra to justify the answer of 4, you get no credit. Because literally, guess and check is almost like saying I give up. It's like, I don't know any algebra, but what I'm good at is randomly picking numbers. So let's pick 99. 99, enter. And by the way, go back up, select the line above. So go up twice and hit enter once it's highlighted. Let's go press enter on that. Now change the x to, let's say, a 99. Hit enter. That's how you know 99 doesn't work. Again, on the Regents exam, sure, I could care less. They have much lower standards. But when we do our work in here, you never, ever, ever, or what we'll say is you always need to go through and show your work. So this is what it needs to look like, and then you select your multiple choice answer. Let's take a look now. There's not an alternate way of doing it, really. Take a look at number 2. This is where things start to get messy. You have to be confident algebra students, period. Looking at what's there, who can tell me what you think our first step is going to be? You have enough tools now at your disposal to solve every radical equation. What would your first step in this be? We have one person who's willing to be a problem solver. Terrific. 2, 3 of you. What do you want to do? Terrific. We need to isolate the radical. And by the way, if you want to keep a list of the steps that we're doing, feel free to. Subtract 1 from both sides. Now I have x minus 1 is equal to the square root of the quantity x plus 11. You've isolated your radical. What's the next step going to be? Eli, what would you do from here? Square each side. So I'm going to go through, on the one side it's real easy. Over here I've got the quantity x plus 11. On the right-hand side you need to take the binomial and square it, which means multiply it by itself. Hands up please when you can tell me what you get when you take the quantity x minus 1 times the quantity x minus 1. I got 1, 2 of you. Come on, 3, 4, 5. We're better. We'll wait for 10. You have to be able to do this, and we should be getting to the point where we can do it really quick. Robbie M, what did you get? X squared minus. No. Remember, x minus 1 and x minus 1, FOIL that. First outer inner last. First terms give you. Outside terms give you. Inside terms. And then n. So these come together, and what are they going to give you? It's negative x and negative x. Minus 2x. You're subtracting them, or adding the two negatives. Now, at this point, all of a sudden, this is when our problem solving should go into autopilot. What type of equation do I have right now? Quadratic, because there's an x squared term. Quadratic equations, we solve them by setting them equal to 0, and then hopefully factoring or quadratic formula. How many answers should I be getting? 2. This is the first time we've done solving this year. We're going to have to get over that. That's why we did the whole first unit. So if I need to set this to be equal to 0, what would I go through and do? Erica T? So I'm going to subtract an x and subtract an 11. And Erica, what am I now going to be left with when I do that?
X squared minus
No. You have negative 2x.
minus 3x.
Good. Nope.
Minus 5.
There we go. So you get to that point. Now, you have to ask yourself, does that factor? There is no GCF. It's not a difference of perfect squares. It's not a difference of or sum of perfect cubes. My leading coefficient is 1. I need numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to negative 3. Hands up, please, if you can tell me what the two binomials that this will factor down to are. Notice it's an equation, so you keep the equals 0 on it. What will this factor down to? Now, this was a little disturbing that some people did miss this next step. Does anybody know what I would need to do next? Yeah, you're missing a step in there. Do you know? Yeah, both of them. Both of these factors, it's called a zero product property. You have to show this intermediate step here. You're correct in saying what the answers are, but again, there's some of it that's like gimmick garbage that they show you. Say, well, it's always the opposite of the number. That's not always true because we're going to be dealing with stuff that's really complicated. And that's not going to be the case. Now, before I circle either one of these answers to say they're my final answer, I need to check and see if they work. So go over to your calculators, please, and you're going to check to see if those answers work. So go through and you need to check both of them. Remember, you only need input at once. And by the way, it's probably a good idea, instead of getting a whole new document, you can work in this one or do a new problem. What did we discover? Yes?
That the bottom of 5 is where it's like a negative.
Now this is when we get into, again, there are some people, in all honesty, sometimes I wonder how they have a job. Because we start off and we get things like this. You always reject the negative. Who's heard something like that? See, before, I was only halfway to the heart attack. Now it's getting much closer. That is unequivocally wrong, 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 wrong. You will get questions that we do where both answers are negative and both will work. You will get answers where neither number is negative and they won't work. Two positive answers you can reject. You have to check the answers themselves. Would you like it if I judged you all and said, oh, you can't do something because you're negative? Stop. You have to check every single answer. All of them. Got it? You reject the negatives out of there. this way. And you know what I love to do? I do this on, I like to do this on tests and quizzes. I'll give you questions where both of the answers, and you're lucky that we encountered this now, so I was going to tell you before, where both of the answers will come out to be negative, and both of them will work, or one of them will work, and it catches every single person who has this. You automatically reject the negative. That's unequivocally false. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Did we hear that last year? Or was it 2 years ago? I'm going to do a poll, maybe an anonymous poll to find out who this person is. Maybe I'll rough them up with the master class. Now, who can tell me why this question is probably going to be a little bit more work than the other? Hands up, please, if you can tell me. Why is this probably going to be a little bit more work than the others? Let's do, and brace yourself. It's going to happen. Get over it. What do you want to say? There's two radicals. Now, what I always like to say is you need to call it, I call it balancing out the equation. Keep the more complicated radical alone. So I'll try to keep this radical here alone and move the smaller one. So I'm going to subtract a root x from both sides. So now I'm left with the square root of the quantity x plus 5 is equal to 5 minus radical x. What's our next step going to be? Leah? I'm going to square both sides. One of these sides is going to be really easy to square, and one it's going to be so messy. So I'm going to square both sides. What am I going to have on the left-hand side, Amanda? What am I going to need to do on the right side, Amanda? Find my square root of x. Watch this. You go over to the margin and do it. 5 minus radical x times 5 minus radical x. Now you go through and do that out on your own. You've got the skills. You've got the tools to go through and do that. Expand it out. Put everything together that you can. Alexis, what do you get when you multiply the first terms together?
25.
What do you get when you multiply the outside ones together?
Negative 10 radical x.
Now, careful. You went too far. Right? She combined them. That's why she said the negative 10. So now when I go back to the question, what is this when I square it? It's exactly what she said it was going to be. It's going to be 25 minus 10 radical x plus x. All right, well, what do you think you want to do next? Take the lead. What's there that I need to get going? We got one person, two of you, three of you. Come on. Now, what if I said, I guess I wouldn't say that. That the radical is what I need to get going. So let's leave the radical where it is and get everything else to the other side. Let's isolate this radical. So I'm going to first subtract a 25 and an x. So now these are gone. These are gone. I'm left with over here negative 10 root x. What am I left with on the other side? Hannah D, what would you be left with on the other side? What's that? Close. A negative x minus 20. Just negative 20, because see how it's x minus x? Now we get to here. Can you keep going? You actually, at this point, by the way, if you wanted, could square both sides. Let's get rid of the negative 10. So now I've got 2 equals the square root of x. Well, this is getting really tough. I'm going to square both sides now. And I get x is equal to 4. Before I go through and circle it, though, I need to make sure it is my final answer. So go in right now and check to see if 4 works. Because who knows? Some things work and some things don't. Hands up, please, when you can tell me whether it works or whether it doesn't. Jared? There you go. And if it works, you circle it. It's called, and if it doesn't work, it's called an extraneous solution. So let's make sure we're using the right thing, the right name. 4 works. And by the way, can you easily check this? What's the square root of 4? 2. Yeah, you could. Now, I get nervous because sometimes people think they're mental math all-stars. Now, we're going to bounce ahead. Take a look, please. Take question number 5. And this is when some of us are going to panic. Go, I can't do this. Stop. Who can tell me what they think they want their first step to be in number 5? 4 of you.
Really?
Luke, what do you want to do? So what would you write out, Luke, after you did that? All right, what's the next thing that I would do from here? Jessica? Close. There is a cube root. What's the opposite of cube root? Just cube it, yeah. So now I'm going to cube both sides. And by the way, I love that we're so smart in here that you knew you wouldn't square both sides. Because is squaring both sides going to get rid of a cube root? No. Now, this is the part, the left half of this should be easy, hopefully. Taylor, what would you be left with on the left side? You're left with whatever that radicand is. Now, who can tell me what the right side is going to be? Because a lot of you are going to think you know it and you're going to make a casual mistake. What do you think people are going to screw up? No, I would say the other end. They're just going to give me 2x cubed. Remember, you got to cube the coefficient as well. Now, this is going to be a little bit awkward. What type of equation is this? Trinomial, but is it quadratic? Not yet. It's cubic. 3 is the highest power, so I'm going to bring everything to one side. Now, I want this to be positive, so I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to subtract an x squared and a 2x. So we've got 0 equals 8x cubed minus x squared minus 2x. And some of us are thinking, God, I can't do anything here. Is that the case? 2 of us? Really? The rest of us are going to throw what? Terrific. So that leaves me with 0 is equal to 8. Oh, sorry. What a dummy. So take out the x and then I don't do it. X times the quantity x, 8x squared, minus x minus 2. Now, normally I would say we would need to try now to factor that down. And the way that you can check, though, to see, because remember, the problem that you all have is you think everything factors down. Does everything factor down? No! Here's how you can check, and this is a shortcut. Some of you will see it and some of you won't, and that's okay. Multiply your outside values. Hands up, please, when you tell me what happens when I multiply my outside coefficients. Hands up, please, when you can tell me the product of the outside or the AC value is going to be negative 16. Okay, we're just the values, so negative 16. Okay? So we know that that's negative 16. What's my middle value? What's my middle coefficient? Negative 1. Are there numbers that multiply to negative 16 and add to negative 1? Well, to get to 16, we got 4 and 4. That's, I can't get a negative 1 from that. 8 and 2, does that work? And 16 and 1, does that work? So does that factor down? No. The way that we're going to go about solving this is, remember last time you took each of these, whatever it factored down to be, because all we can do is a GCF. Whatever these were, I set them equal to 0. So I take this, here's my first factor, and say, all right, x is going to be equal to 0. That's the first thing I know. And the second thing that I know, get rid of this temporarily. I set this factor equal to 0, and I'll even do this so it makes it a little bit clearer. And now I'm going to set this equal to 0. 8x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. The problem is that doesn't factor down. Does that mean it doesn't have answers? Does that mean it doesn't have answers? No. What technique did you see? I hope you did before. How you can solve a quadratic that doesn't factor down? Rhymes with quadratic formula. Yeah, quadratic formula. So, I'm going to list it out over to the side. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of, in parentheses, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's the quadratic formula itself. We are working under the assumption that you all know it. It's not, I think it might be given to you on the Regents exam. It's not given to you when you do stuff with me. Now, this is the part that I find frustrating. I don't need you to show it out every time you use it. I could care less. It doesn't get you any points. What I need you to see is, this is what's called the shell of the quadratic formula. I use it so much that literally I made my own picture, so I wasn't writing it out every time. There's 3 values that I need to fill in. Oh, by the way, looking at this, what is the a value of this equation, this quadratic equation? What is the a value? Hands up when you can tell me that. No, you gave me too much. Just 8. What's the b value of this? What's the c value of this? Negative 2. So what value is going in this yellow position here? Hands up, please, when you can tell me. No. Positive 1, because it's negative b. Okay? So this is a positive 1 here. The other value that's going to, which one is easier to find, the green or the blue? The blue. Hands up, please, and tell me what the blue value is going to be. Oh, come on.
16.
Now, I need you to find the green value. So you're going to go to your calculators right now, and in parentheses, put the b value, get out of the parentheses, square it, minus 4 times the a value times the c value. That's called the discriminant. It's a special kind of radicand. Hands up, please, when you can tell me what that's going to come out to be. What did we get as our radicand value? 1 person. Do any perfect squares go into 65? What candidates do we have? What's one perfect square I'd want to try? If we don't know a perfect square is, I don't know where we've been. Give me a small perfect square that we want to try. 4. Does 4 go in? All right, next one I try is? Does 9 go in? No. What about? Does that go in? No. What about after 16, 25? Does 25 go in? Then 36. Then we did 49. 64. Guess what? You're done. How many answers is this, by the way? How many answers is this? 1. So 2 plus 1 gives me how many total answers do we have? Now, how many did we say we were going to get? 3. Now there's the tough part. Go into your calculators, please. Plug in the original expression, and then we're going to do that bar trick again. So go in. To get that indexable radical, you hit Control and then the arrow up. Now do the bar. And now, this is where it's going to be. The first answer is so easy to plug in. The second one's really, really awkward. Do x equals 0. It's 0 work. All right, now, how many answers were there when we applied the quad formula? 2. So go back, select it, and delete the 0. Do control division. And now put in the top half of that. What goes up top? So control division. And up top, was it 1 plus root 65 over 16? Okay, so do 1 plus root 65 over 16, hit enter. That one works. Now go back up and select it. Now it's real easy because the second one you don't have to re-enter everything. Just put in the minus. Does the minus work? Should. It should. Now, questions on that? Here's the one that I love, and I don't want you, this is where, again, and on a side note, I sit here and look. The first couple of days where I guess, let's say, eye-opening, mildly, for me, this to me shows me how far you've come. Who thinks this question looks easy? If you think it looks easy, it's okay to think it looks easy. It is. It's supposed to be really, really easy. What do you want to do? Square what? Yeah. So we're squaring the left and right. So what are you going to write out now? Equals. Okay. Who can tell me what he's got or what you all are going to do next? Who can tell me what I'm going to do next? This is why I get asked to go write the Regents exams. What do we do now? Subtract 2, so I've got root x is equal to 62. What do I do now? Square both sides. What do you go through and do from here? What do you get? 3844. Now, go back and check to see if it works. Again, the beginning, your inclination, the first day you walked in here, I can pretty much guarantee you would have been this way. And now we've got pretty much people thinking these questions are easy. That should show you how far you've come. Okay, that was tough, right? Right? Please. Now, I'll do this for you because I don't know, well, it's awkward because you all are at different, all of the Enriched classes are at different points because of this, our cycling schedule. What I'm going to do for you is this. You want the answers for tonight's homework. Okay? You want to take a picture of them? There they are. I'll find out a way to take a snapshot and get it out just to individual classes to remind. But if you want to take a picture of them, those are what the answers to tonight's homework are. Okay? And I can do that for you every single day. If it means you'll go through and be more accurate with your work. Your homework should be taking you no more than 30 minutes. That's all I got.